Hey guys, hi. So today we are going to learn about a very important feature of TestNG, which is like priority and dependency on methods. Okay, so these are the two features associated with @test annotations. Okay, which helps you to actually set the order of your test case execution. Now, what do I mean by sets the order of your test case execution is, say you have five test cases, okay, in a class. Now, I have this class created and say I have five test cases or I have three test cases. Okay. And you want to set a certain order that, okay, my test case one should always run before test case two and then test case two should run before test case three. Okay. Or you want your test case three to run, then one and then two. So accordingly, you want to set the execution order of your test cases. So how do you do that? Okay, so there are two very common things which helps you in doing this particular stuff, which is priority and depends on method. Okay, and this is also something which is very commonly asked in interviews. Okay, whenever you appear for interview and when you're asked for test NG, so there are multiple questions that can be associated with these two particular features. So we'll also be talking about those questions answers. Okay, so please stay with me. Okay, so let's get started. So I have a simple class file here as you see, and we'll be creating three test cases really very quick. So let's create three test cases. What do you mean by @test and all the different annotations we have already covered in our previous series. So in case you haven't got a chance to look at it, I would highly encourage you to please have a look in the previous parts of this particular series as well. Okay, so I'll be creating the simple test cases. Say public void validate page logo. Okay, or let's do something. Validate login page. Okay, so this is my first test case. After that, I have my second test case is validate inbox page and then validate logout page. Okay, so let me put a simple print statements here. See, so in login page, see, so in inbox page and then see, so in logout page. Okay, guys. Okay. Now I have these three test cases. I haven't set anything like no priority, no dependency of methods, nothing. So let's see how they run. Okay, so let me run it. Okay, as you see here, guys, my all the three test cases have run. Okay, but if you see the sequence, my inbox test case has run first. After that, my login test case has run, and after that, my logout test case has run. Okay, even if I see it in the console, you see here in inbox and in login and in logout. Okay, so what TestNG considers is all your test cases are independent enough and therefore they do not need to maintain any specific sequence. Okay, so by default, the sequence that TestNG follows is the alphabetical order. Okay, as you see, it has run them as per the alphabetical sequence, right? Inbox, I, then login, so log, okay, but then I stands first, so it would take it in alphabetical sequence. But then, guys, let's take it logically, okay? Now, I have a test case for login functionality, okay? If the login doesn't happen, then inbox doesn't make sense, and if I haven't landed to inbox page, logout doesn't make sense, right? So I want to first execute, like, how would you directly validate your inbox page, right? You need to first do the login functionality, correct? So what you want is you want to first execute your login, then you want to check that, okay, I as soon as I logged in, I have reached my inbox page, and then at the end you want to check that okay, I was successfully able to log out from my application. Okay, so but for doing this you need to set up the priorities. Okay, that okay, I want my this test case to run first, followed by this, and then this one. Okay, this is where priority comes into picture. Okay, so what you can do, as simple as that, just put a bracket and then you write okay, priority equals to 1. This priority will always take the integer value as a value to it. Okay, so let us assign it this way. Priority equals to 1, priority equals to 2, and then priority equals to 3. Okay, so I have set my priority execution sequence. Now TestNG takes it from bottom to the top. Okay, so it will, the bottom, I mean the lowest number has the highest priority. Okay, so let's run it now. Okay, so now you see we have it in sequence in login page, in inbox page, and then in logout page. You see it has followed the execution sequence from lowest to the highest. Correct? Now, before proceeding, let us talk about few interview questions that we generally see for priorities. Okay. First, can it have priority equals to 0? Yes, it can. Can it have negative priority? Yes, it can. Okay. Priority, as I said, it takes the integer values. So it can be negative, it can be 0, it can be a positive number. Okay. The sequence that you need to keep in mind is lowest to highest. Okay. Let's see it this way. Let's say I assign it as priority as -1. This one I assign it as -2. And then I assign this one as -3. Okay. We know the lowest priority is this one, -3, right? Then comes -2, and then the highest is -1. So if I do this, my execution sequence will be log out, then inbox, and then login. Let's go the reverse way. Okay, so let me run it. Okay, as expected, we see this log out, then inbox, then login. Okay, so just keep in mind that priority always take integer values. Okay, when I say integer, obviously negative, 0, positive, everything is considered, and the sequence, then okay, it takes from lowest to highest sequence. Okay, what if I do not assign priority to any test case? What is the default priority? Your answer would be 0. Okay, the default priority assigned to any test case is 0. Okay, now next question that may come is, say assign two test case with the same priority. Now, what would happen? What would be the execution sequence? Okay, now it takes from bottom to high, but if my two test cases has the same priorities, then how is TestNG going to decide which one to execute first, like this one or this one? Okay, so in this case, your answer would be then the alphabetical sequence comes into picture. Okay, so the first step is you see the priorities. Now, if you get confused between the priorities, then the alphabetical sequence of your test case name comes into picture, right? So in this case, logout will get executed first, but then both of your this test case has the same priority. So alphabetically, this come first. So this will get executed and then your login page. Okay, let's run it. Okay, only login got run because I selected login specifically. Okay, let us run it normally now. Okay, so you see now the logout ran first, then the inbox, and then the login, right? Because it took it alphabetically, right? So these are the various questions that are associated with priority, and then the execution sequence, just summarizing it again, the execution sequence depend on the priority from lowest to top and then on the alphabetical sequence, right? Let's now talk about another thing which is depends on method. Okay, what is that? Now, Say guys, I have my login test case, right? But then testing your inbox page doesn't make any relevance if your login test case has failed. Okay, right? Obviously, if you are not able to log in, it is not like it doesn't make sense that you run inbox because obviously that's going to fail. You will not reach to inbox page if you didn't log in, right? Similarly, logging out, checking the logging out functionality doesn't make sense if you're not able to log in. How are you going to log out? Right? Because you won't get these elements if you were not able to log in. So I don't want to waste my time running the inbox and logout functionality if my login itself failed. So how do I do that in TestNG? Right? So for that, let me just remove this priority thing. Though guys, you can use priority with TestNG. Okay, it's not that you have to use any one of them. You can use both of them together. Just for this video purpose, I am going to it one by one. Okay, so what I can write here is depends on groups, depends on methods. We have multiple things, but for this video, we'll be concentrating on depends on methods. Okay, so this takes as a parameter string array. Okay, so depends on methods, and then within the curly brace in double comma, I can say that okay, it depends on this particular method. Okay, so in this case, if my login page fails, my inbox page won't run at all. Okay, and let me also do the same for my logout. Okay, okay, this need to be in double in braces. Okay, now if this test case pass, both of this will run. If this doesn't pass, both of this is going to skip, not fail. Guys, please take care. These test cases will be marked as skip in this case, not as failure, because pass or fail will be decided only if you run it. Okay, but this test case didn't get run, so it would be wrong saying that it failed. Okay, so TestNG considers this as a pass. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let me put a assert here, just a fake assert true, and I say false here. Okay, so in this case, okay, let's first mark it true. In this case, my test case, this one is going to pass, and then let's see how this test cases behave. Okay, let me run it. Okay, so I see my all the three test cases have run, right? Login, then inbox, and then logout. Correct? But now let's say my login itself failed. Okay, so I'm explicitly marking that okay, my this test case should fail. Now let's see what happens with both of these. Okay, okay, so you see here guys, test run 3, but there was one failure and then two skips. Correct? Let's see here. Okay, validate login page failed because obviously our assertion failed. Let me bring it down. Okay, our assertion failed, expected true, found false, right? And then you see this yellow symbol here. This test case has got skipped, right? And it says it has skipped. It threw a throwable exception. Okay. And if you see its description, guys, it would say you, okay, it depends on not successfully finished methods. Okay, the reason that it skipped was it depends on not successfully finished methods, right? So if depends on methods is used when you want to create the dependency of test cases. Okay, if your test case 2 doesn't make any relevance, if your test case 1 itself fails, so you can just mark depends on methods. Okay, now I have marked just one method as depends on methods. Say I say that my logout depends on inbox page. Okay, so this test case will run only if this pass, and then this will run only if this pass. If this call gets skipped, this is also going to get skipped automatically, right? Similarly, what I can also do is, as this is a string array, it's not necessary that it should have only one method. Okay, I can say that this method is dependent on both of these methods or on other three test cases that you have. Okay, as this is a string array, you can put any number of methods here, comma separated, and that should be taken into consideration. Okay, so in the last, just one question. What is the difference between priority and depends on methods? Okay, because both of them are helping you set up the order, right? So what is the main difference? Okay, so the main difference is priority doesn't restrict the execution of any test case. For example, like here we have three test cases, and as we saw when we set up the priority, all of these three are going to run for sure. Okay, any test case result doesn't decide the execution yes or no for another test cases. Okay, so all of these three test cases are going to run for sure, irrespective of any of them passes or fail. It's just that the sequence of their execution is being set up by priority. Okay, but the decision that whether they should run or not, that doesn't hold relevant if we are using priority. Okay, so once again, priority just sets up the sequence of execution, and in when we set a priority, each and every test case is going to run for sure. Okay, on the other hand, if I talk about depends on methods, in that case your test case result, this is the deciding factor if your another test cases are going to run or not. Okay, as we have said, this test case is dependent on this particular method. That means if my previous test case fails, my dependent test cases would get skipped. Okay, so depends on methods is something which decides whether your test case is going to run or not, depending on the result of your previous test case, previous test cases. While priority, on the other hand, make sure that your every test case is going to run just depending on what priority you have set. Okay, another thing, when you say that this test case is dependent on this particular test case, TestNG will automatically decide that okay, I have to run this test case first, and only after that I'm going to run this. Okay, because it is very obvious that do I need to run it or not is going to be decided based on this particular test case. So TestNG will automatically understand that okay, I need to run this test case first and then the dependent. Okay, so that's all for this particular video, guys. Hope we did understand the difference between priority and depends on methods, and also we discussed about various interview questions that we generally encounter. And do let me know for any other questions that you might have regarding this topic in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.